I'm Suzanne Nossel, Penn's Executive Director, and I'm thrilled to welcome you here on behalf of Penn American Center. We're the largest of more than 140 Penn centers worldwide that protect those who risk their lives and liberty to defend free speech, a fight that is only intensifying in the digital age. Thank you for coming to the 8th Annual Arthur Miller Freedom to Write Lecture, honoring one of the most distinguished leaders in Penn's 90-year history. In her memoir, our speaker today tells the story of how, at 7 months, she once stuck her head inside of a bucket. Her family was convinced that she was looking for a way to amplify the sound of her voice. So even before she knew how to speak, Sonia Sotomayor wanted to be heard. She doesn't need the bucket anymore. Today, in the room where Abraham Lincoln gave the speech that launched his national political career, we're all here to listen. And those of you who are not blocked by the columns in this historic room will get to see also. And if you aren't, please feel free to move around so that you get the best sight line for the justice. Just as Justice Sotomayor has blazed trails in her career, her lecture charts some new territory for Penn. This lecture closes a festival that's brought more than 100 writers from all over the world to New York. Justice Sotomayor's presence breaks ground in a few respects. She earned her renown not as a writer, but as a judge. She grew up not in a faraway continent, but in the outer borough known as the Bronx. Raised in a Spanish-speaking family, Justice Sotomayor grew up longing for her parents' home in Puerto Rico. When she arrived at Princeton, she felt like she was landing in an alien country. Yet her life and her voice are distinctly American. They're illustrative of how not just our words and language, but American perspectives, beliefs, and values show roots in every part of the world. The World Voices Festival aims to widen the flow of ideas from the outside in so that they continue to enrich and enliven our cacophony here at home. Meanwhile, My Beloved World, her extraordinary memoir, has earned Sonia Sotomayor recognition not just as a writer of important opinions, but as an important writer, period. We hope someday she'll consider becoming a professional member of Penn. She reminds us that the universe of writers must always be porous, open to the power of prose, regardless of the writer's day job. To underscore the point, just yesterday, we held an event on writings by New York City cab drivers. I think some of them were from the Bronx, too. In her book, she describes how a voice inflected by an immigrant upbringing became part of the most powerful 9-person chorus in this country. The heavy black robes of a Supreme Court justice have not stopped her from finding ways to let her culture and background show through. She expresses not just her opinions, but herself. And in so doing, she manifests that free expression is not only a legal right, but is the foundation of human identity and possibility. For Justice Sotomayor, free expression is not merely a matter of First Amendment jurisprudence from the bench. She has demanded it, exercised it, and defended it her whole life. She did it at Princeton when she wrote about the school's failure to address Chicano culture and then filed a complaint with the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. She does it from the bench where her tough questions in the recent voting rights and gay marriage cases, just to name a few, leave attorneys tongue-tied and lead the news. And she does so in her writing, which is more candid, revealing, and personal than that of just about any Supreme Court justice. She has confounded expectations in the tradition of the man who came to this hall on February 27, 1860. The crowd expected, wrote one contemporary, something weird, rough and uncultivated. It's not what we're expecting today. But as Abraham Lincoln delivered that speech, with the line that ended it, his call to action to end slavery, let us have faith that right makes might, they began to applaud. A Lincoln biographer, Harold Holzer, wrote, "Only at the Great Hall of Cooper Union can audiences so easily inhale Lincoln's presence too, there to imagine not the dying, but the living man, not the bearded icon of myth, but the clean-shaven, fresh-voiced, political original, who conquered all New York here on the way to the White House and to immortality. A fresh-voiced political original, a proud New Yorican who conquered all New York on the way to the Supreme Court and a place in history. Ladies and gentlemen, Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
I feel so humbled to be in this great hall at a podium at which one of my favorite presidents spoke, President Lincoln, but among such distinguished writers. If you must believe me, because I say it, right? I'm in awe. Thank you for letting me be a part of tonight. When I received the invitation to speak tonight, I reflected on the work that Penn does in support of freedom of expression, whether advocating for writers who are persecuted because of their work, or simply raising awareness of abuses of human rights, calling us all to account because ignoring such events makes us all less worthy of our own humility. And I asked myself, what can I possibly say today that won't be preaching to the choir? Jacob, director of the Penn World Voices Festival, thoughtfully suggested a list of questions about my work on the court that might be of particular interest to the Penn membership. Many are questions I prefer not to answer, and I hope my presentation today will explain why. The reason is bound up in my reflections on other questions he posed. Have I had any personal experiences with censorship or self-censorship? And then more broadly, how does the notion of freedom change depending on circumstances? Has my understanding of freedom changed since my appointment to the Supreme Court? I must preface my remarks today by saying that my own experiences of censorship since my appointment to the court is not a hardship. And it would be fastidious for me to compare it to the repression experienced by the writers that Penn supports or that some judges have endured. Judges have been threatened with public censorship or removal, economically persecuted to ensure their decisions conform to the will or public opinion, and even jailed. In some jurisdictions, judges are banished to a virtual Siberia to neutralize their voices. In many countries, judges are killed. We are fortunate that Article 3 of the US Constitution guarantees federal judges their positions for life, absent impeachment for a high crime or misdemeanor, and that no diminution of our salaries can occur during our tenure. These guarantees largely guard against much of the overt censorship that judges experience. Despite its rarity, the threat alone of impeachment or removal in response to a judge's decision causes untold anxiety and is often viewed as an assault on judicial independence. It is why so many lawyers and citizens in our country work assiduously to guard judicial independence against overt or even covert threats of censorship or impeachment for an unpopular decision. It's true, you can easily find instructions on the internet for how to impeach a judge, but accomplishing it is thankfully a very difficult matter. I do not claim any special bravery in my work on the court, but knowing that freedom is both fragile and precious, and its name too easily appropriated